Class, Proletarians and Capitalists. By Marxist-Leninist Theory. Hello again. Last time we learned what socialism and communism mean. A quick recap. Socialism means common ownership of the means of production, or basically worker control of the workplace. It also means of historical stage in society when the working class has achieved state power and the means of production are owned by worker cooperatives and the workers' state. Communism means a historical stage after socialism when the means of production are owned in common, scarcity of resources has been eliminated and the oppressive force of the state has withered away. Now to the topic at hand. Today we'll be discussing class and what it means in Marxist theory. Next time we'll talk about types of property in Marxist theory, and after that you already know a lot of the basics and understanding further theory will be easier with that knowledge. So, what is class? Class, like socialism and communism, is a word that is not really understood by non-Marxists. Although where socialism and communism are scary words and people deliberately spread inaccurate definitions of them, class is simply a word that has both a popular definition in everyday speech as well as a Marxist definition. In everyday speech, class usually basically means social status. Working class, middle class, rich, etc. So usually it just reflects the amount of money you have. In Marxism, class is a very specific thing. We talked briefly about the means of production last time. Remember factories, land, machines, etc. A person's class is defined in Marxism by his relationship to the means of production. Just remember that, a person's class is defined by his relationship to the means of production. I'll explain what that means using examples. 1. Proletarian. Proletarian is a fancy word for wage worker or a quote-unquote working class person. His relationship to the means of production is that he uses them in his work but doesn't own them or have any legal claim to them. For example, Joe is a proletarian. He goes to a factory owned by a multinational corporation and its shareholders. He works there making products 8 hours a day. At the end of the month he gets his paycheck. He has no legal claim to the factory, his workplace, or any of the machines he uses there, nor any of the products he has made. He only gets his paycheck. So in short, he lives by selling his labor power to a capitalist. 2. Capitalist. Capitalist basically means owner of capital. Capital being means of production, money or something similar to that. That will be discussed in another video. Basically he is one of the people who owns Joe's workplace. A capitalist's relationship to the means of production is quite different from a proletarian's. He does not work in the factory, farm or whatever his means of production are. He only owns them. He hires workers, proletarians, like Joe, to work in his factory. Those workers make products which then get sold for money. Using this money the capitalist pays his workers but also keeps a profit for himself. Often, a very generous profit. So he lives by extracting profits from the work of the proletarians. Those are the two most basic types of classes. Worker and owner. There are many other subcategories though, and I will make a specific video expanding on them later. Also, in reality the relationships are usually somewhat more complicated. For example, the CEO of a company might own a large amount of stocks, making him a capitalist, but he also works in the business. Let's recap. Class means a person's relationship to the means of production. Whether he owns them, uses them, rents them, etc. A proletarian or a wage worker is a person who doesn't own any means of production or capital. He only has his labor power which he sells to a capitalist for a wage. A capitalist is a person who owns capital, money, means of productions, etc. He hires workers to work for him and extracts profits from their labor. Thank you for watching and see you next time. If you have any questions, do not hesitate to ask and I'll answer as best I can. Also like and subscribe if you're so inclined.